Hello ladies and gents, welcome to CG Reaction, and this is Are Bats OP by the channel TierZoo. Yes, another TierZoo video. I'm kind of making this, regular thing, reacting to this channel. I never thought I'm gonna learn about animals and things like this, but I'm loving it. TierZoo explain it in a way like it's a game. I love it. Everybody likes video games. I mean, the times where people like, video game, those were decades ago. Now everybody loves video games, so it's really fun to see this. Bats, Well, what do I know about bats? Obviously, they're creepy as fuck. They lie upside down on the branches or whatever inside the caves. But I know some things about bats that are really awesome. Like I remember, bats can hibernate in cold temperature, and not just that, they can survive extreme cold temperatures. I mean, that's just ridiculous. That makes them, I think they can survive ice ages too. So that is ridiculous. I mean, they can survive really bad, environments too. And obviously, in America and everywhere, bats are endangered species. I saw it some news in some feed, so I remember that. I don't know if that's just a one-time thing or it's already a big issue right now. And also bats have just one kid apparently a year, so maybe that's the reason why they're going endangered. Who the fuck knows? But there is a bat, flying fox. I think I'm pretty sure it's a flying fox somewhere in Pacific, someplace. These bats are massive. I mean, their wingspan is about 6 feet wide or something. That is ridiculous. I mean, that's, that would scare any human if they see it. I mean, obviously, to the local public, they're like, we understand that. But anybody who doesn't know this and suddenly go there for tourism, wherever these things are, and they see it, that would be ridiculous. 6 feet wide wingspan. Damn. And obviously, the most famous thing about them is that they use sonar, the sound, the sound hitting place and coming back. They can, let's just see, they use sonar really effectively. So that is something. But yeah, bats, basically any movie or something, horror film, you see bats, swarming on the sky, you like something's bad about to happen. So those are bats. Let's see more details about it, because that's the only thing I knew, and that's like nothing. TierZoo will go in detail how many species of bats are there. We all know who's going to be in the S tier, right? Batman, obviously. But in the A tier, this, flying fox or whatever should be there. Let's watch it.
Enemy spotted.
Yes, sonar.
This episode is sponsored by CuriosityStream. You'd be hard-pressed to come up with a build that had a greater impact on the metagame in 2020 than the Bat build. And while they certainly do have an uncanny affinity for spawning mutated zoonotic viruses, there's a lot more to bats than just that. The Bat build is unique in several ways.
I said in one of the videos, like, bats are a piece of shit, right? Because of them, there are lots of, this viruses are out there. And somebody said, I mean, it's not their fault. I know it's not their fault. I'm just saying, in a way, like, people are stupid. They're eating bats, and in that way, it's spreading. Obviously, bats has nothing to do with this. I mean, bats didn't say, like, eat me. So obviously, I was just saying in that sense, like, damn, lots of diseases come from bats. Obviously, it's the wet markets, it's the people who are assholes.
So today we're breaking down the Bat build to discuss its stats, special abilities, matchup spread, unique class variants, and finally where they place overall in the tier list. So without further ado, let's get into it. The Bat sports a pretty wide range of both high and low stats. Their key stat is mobility, of course, and it's kind of a given that any flying build will have high aerial mobility but be lacking in their other movement options. Bats take this a step further though, having thinner, more flexible wings that cover both their arms and legs, that allow for far greater speed and precision of movement mid-air than most bird builds can achieve. In fact, while technically peregrine falcons can reach higher speeds during their dives, bats actually hold the record for the fastest flight speed in the game.
What? I thought they were just 60 miles per hour. And isn't peregrine falcon can go over 200 miles per hour? I don't know, I'm confused in that point. Bats can go about 60 or something miles per hour. Obviously, most of my viewers are Americans and, even British and Europeans, so I'm talking miles per hour. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 60 miles per hour, and peregrine falcon can go about 200 plus. I don't know, man. I'm pretty sure I remember hearing Jeremy Clarkson saying it Peregrine Falcon can go 220 miles per hour. I don't know.
Incredible mobility comes at a cost though, as we'll see with the bat's other stats. Bats have some of the weakest defenses in the game. Their thin, membranous wings are far less resistant to tears and scratches than feathered wings, meaning even a single hit from a relatively weak attack or mid-air collision might mean game over for a bat player. The bat's other stats also tend to be quite low. They aren't exactly stealthy flyers, and make much more noise than other nocturnal aerial builds like the owl. They also have pretty abysmal damage output. This makes sense though, as they don't really need it for offense, and if they're ever attacked, their defense and HP are so low that it would already be too late to strike back. So it's actually optimal to just stick to their hypermobile strategy and hope their other special abilities can carry them. Before we get into discussing special abilities, first we have to break down the different variations within the bat class, since the most important special abilities
I didn't know bats were that weak, so basically if they don't get something right, they're screwed, huh?
Not shared among all bats. All of these variations fall into one of two categories: Microbats and Megabats.
Vampire bat,
Microbats
damn.
are smaller and have a highly specialized nocturnal playstyle. They heavily favored spending evolution points on their hearing sense rather than vision, and so their eyes are quite small and not very useful. However, in addition to having excellent hearing, the Microbats' heavy investment into the auditory skill tree grants them access to an extremely powerful unique ability, echolocation. Echolocation is a sound-based perception perk that allows the user to completely negate any stealth bonuses a player would normally have because of camouflage.
Just say sonar.
It also allows bats to track the location of other flying players in the air, giving them greatly increased accuracy against airborne targets. It also greatly lowers the risk of collision while flying in tightly packed groups or through dense forests. This ability is definitely the most impressive aspect of the bat build, and the most integral to making their nocturnal playstyle viable. While most Microbats survive entirely via the XP they get from PvP against flying insects, the Microbat faction also contains the Vampire Bat, a strange parasitic build that uses its flight ability to stealthily drain small amounts of HP from other players.
What the
While
fuck?
I like the concept in theory, I feel like the Bloodsucker playstyle is done much more effectively
That's why the bats are associated with vampires, huh?
by builds like the Mosquito and Tick, both of which have high enough stealth to actually succeed in their attacks even when the target is wide awake. Vampire Bats, on the other hand, are not stealthy enough to drain a full blood meal from a conscious target. And given their extremely low defense, they cannot risk taking a hit while draining HP. It's likely that the Vampire Bats had far more success back before the truly giant mammal builds got banned, as these mammals would have had much more difficulty detecting and swatting away such a small flying parasite. Aside from also having the ability to fly,
Basically,
the
these are
Megabat
mosquitoes to those giant elephants.
faction has a very different strategy than Microbats. The Megabat player base is diurnal, and as such, they did not spec far into the auditory skill tree at the cost of their vision. Quite the opposite, in fact. Megabats have excellent vision, but they cannot use the echolocation ability. In theory, this is a better strategy, rather than spending a bunch of evolution points on the expensive high-level sonar ability. It's more efficient to just go for a more standard vision upgrade, and still have plenty of points left over to pump into things like direct base stat boosts. This is what allows Megabats to grow several times larger than their nocturnal cousins. Now, due to their lack of echolocation, there's pretty much no way they could attack flying insects midair with any sort of accuracy. So Megabats opt for an herbivorous playstyle, and use their power of flight to access the best loot, similar to parrots. Despite being a much easier playstyle, I actually think it's nearly as viable as the Microbat strategy, provided there's enough fruit around to sustain the energy needs required by a flying mammal.
Yeah, bats. I mean, I thought all bat species had sonar, but apparently not, huh? So bigger bats don't have it. I mean, bats are the reason why insect species stay in check and don't go out of control. I'm pretty sure that's the case.
So how do bats fare against their most common encounters? As I said before, Microbats have excellent matchups against flying insects. That's pretty much a given since they're specifically specialized for that matchup. Moths in particular have actually started speccing into their own sonar abilities in order to jam bat echolocation so that they aren't such a free kill all the time. This still has a long way to go before it has much of an effect on the matchup though. Microbats are also occasionally able to score kills on amphibian players, though personally I see this as more of an indictment of the frog's abysmal defensive stats than it is praise of the bat's offensive ability.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, the biggest threats to bats are stationary ambush builds, since echolocation doesn't do a great job picking out other players who aren't moving. Snakes in particular can detect them using their heat vision, and can
Yeah, like I have sonar, man. It's the latest technology. Basically snakes like, man, I'm way ahead of you. Come here.
lash out and score a kill while they're passing by. Spiderwebs can pose a major problem to careless bat players too, as most bats are actually light enough to be restrained mid-flight if they run into them. However, skilled bat players can actually pinpoint the spider player via echolocation and snatch them right out of their web, so this matchup is by no means one-sided. Echolocation also allows bats to detect players that have made the mistake of being at the surface of the water, even in the dark. Making an attack on one of these targets is a bit of a gamble too, though. Megabats, in contrast, have great difficulty dealing with birds of prey. Since they have no sonar for early detection of an incoming attack, they can be taken down both mid-flight and while hiding in trees by aggressive raptor players. However, with their large frame, they're also
eagle, raptor, falcons, aren't they all the same thing? So eagles basically are the most dominant flying thing there is, right? I'm pretty sure that's the case.
far better in the intimidation department, meaning they can frighten players away who might challenge their control over the best loot sources. Their slightly higher defensive stats, while still not great, can also let them tank a hit or two if they get lucky. Wouldn't exactly rely on this, but still, credit where credit is due. The last thing to mention is the bats' matchup against disease. So bats actually have one of the highest disease resistances in the game, something they really do need because they live in such close quarters with each other. Because
in
of
the
this,
caves,
the pathogen
apparently.
mains who do target bats have to spec into some extremely powerful virulence perks, which is why the pathogens that switch targets from bats to something else tend to be quite difficult for non-bat mains to fend off. Their incredible immune systems seem to have the secondary effect of
Oh, so that's what it is. Bats have pretty strong internal bodies and pretty much immune to things. So whatever inside in the bat, they probably went up a notch. They are really strong pathogens. So whenever they jump a species like to humans, we basically get fucked. So that's what's happening here.
granting bats unnaturally long lives. Most builds with similar metabolisms and sizes to bats only live a fraction as long. Overall, I think the bat sits at a comfortable C tier. Their choice of abilities
Average.
is expensive, and I'm not entirely sure that it has paid off when weighted against the sacrifices they had to make to their base stats. Of the 3 flying factions in the game, I actually think bats rank the lowest overall. Birds have them beat in terms of versatility and practicality, as they can fly longer distances and have more durable wings. Insects have bats beat in terms of defense, being able to fly while still rocking some pretty solid armor. Nonetheless, the bat's flight precision is quite respectable, and highly skilled bat players can accomplish quite a lot using the bat's limited tools. I expect the bat's position on the tier list to rise as the current meta continues to centralize around the city biome, something microbats excel at. The bat's incredible disease resistance is also not to be overlooked. In fact, human data miners are trying to crack the code to see if the bat's immunity is something that can be used as a model for advancing the human's medicine ability.
Damn.
This is the subject
That'd
of
be awesome.
the excellent documentary series Breakthrough, which chronicles the research that was done this year.
I'm not gonna lie, that is awesome. If humans can do that, if they can crack the code about that, man. Right now I think all the sciences are advancing just fine. Even the space one, even if we are not putting that much money into it, I think we know how to do things. I think we know how to go to Mars, how to deflect an asteroids. But the thing is, in biology we are really lacking. The pandemic that just happened, that is going on currently, that shouldn't have been so much damaging as it was, if considering how advanced we are in other fields. So if we were just same as advanced in biology, this shouldn't have been this much of an issue. So the thing is, in biology we are kind of behind. Something like this is really needed, something that boosts our immune system ridiculously high, because any kind of a virus that is good enough screws us over. Imagine if the pandemic that we are going through right now, the way it spreads, if something like Ebola was spreading like that, how screwed we would have been. Compared to that, this is nothing, and already we are all scared. So biology needs to advance really high.
Regarding the huge nerfs the human player base had to deal with in 2020. You can watch the whole series right now by signing up for CuriosityStream. CuriosityStream is a streaming service with thousands of
So yeah, I guess yeah, people go to curiositystream.com/TierZoo and support that channel. This is a great channel. I love this. I'm learning things that I never thought I would, but apparently I am. He didn't talk about that, flying fox thing. I mean, first time I heard about that, like, wing spread is, about 6 foot wide. 6 foot? That is ridiculous. That's really big. I mean, it comes with it comes at you with the wing spread completely. It would look like a human-sized thing coming towards you. That's effed up. Yep. So that was bats. Alright people, if you like my reaction to food, like and subscribe. I've reacted to quite a few TierZoo videos already. If you haven't seen them, check out the link in the description with all of my videos. Check out the cards for all the playlist I've created for different things if you haven't seen them. And yeah, like, subscribe if you like what I'm doing. In that way I know which type of videos to react to more, and you will be supporting my channel, I guess. And yeah, I'll see you next time.